We're going to be covering the worst of first. We're kind of just going to be going back and forth, talking about it. So we're going to be going from the bottom all the way up to the top here. So, Nick, did you want to go first, or should I?
Okay, so for my worst of, I only brought 5 films to the table, but I'll go first. My number 5 is going to be one of the most horrifying, unintentionally so films I think I've seen this year. Written, distributed by a big company, directed by a man responsible for one of the all-time film trilogies with Robert Zemeckis and his quote-unquote live-action remake of Pinocchio. And this soulless, uncanny valley monstrosity that has been unleashed on the screen, and well, not even on the screen, on our Disney Plus accounts, and having it just do every single cliche that I hate with like modern children's films, having really outdated jokes, like stopping the film for a second to have Pinocchio look at a piece of actual shit, and it's like are you trying to lampshade how terrible your movie is, or are you just fucking around with me, Zemeckis? But going back to our review of the film, there's really nothing here. The animation, I guess, in some parts looks kind of impressive. You get an impressive vocal performance from Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Jiminy Cricket, but just the fact that I saw Del Toro's version, which that movie was intending to be frightening, at least with the initial introduction of Pinocchio in that, and somehow this is scarier. And I've said my piece about this film. I'm not gonna anymore.
Yeah. So this was a movie. It's directed by Robert Zemeckis. There were actually 3 Pinocchio movies that came out this year. This one, there was the Guillermo del Toro animated one, and there was another animated one as well that came out. So there's 3 Pinocchio movies that came out. I didn't see the other animated Pinocchio film. I saw the Guillermo del Toro animated Pinocchio film, which was very good. Which was really, really good. It's on Netflix. This one was, yeah. I mean, like you said, I mean, it was huge. A huge failing in every sense of the word, really. And, wacky performance from Tom Hanks, who's usually very reliable veteran actor, but I thought he was just kind of all over the place here. Yeah, go ahead.
If anything, 2022 is, for me, 2022 is the year where Tom Hanks has fallen off. Because he's done like 2 different films where he's put on a wildly different accent, and it's been some of the worst performances I've ever seen out of an actor this entire year.
Yeah. He's got that movie out right now called My Name is Otto, I think. Is that the name of it?
The Man Called Otto.
Yeah, he's got that out right now. So I haven't seen that, but
where he's basically just playing Clint Eastwood's character from Gran Torino.
Yeah, except I guess maybe less racist, maybe possible. Yeah. So yeah. All right. So you had Pinocchio there. So I'm gonna do some honorable mentions with my worst of before I get into my worst of list. My first honorable mention is Firestarter. Firestarter was the movie that is based on the Stephen King the novel. So this is an adaptation of it. There was also a movie of it at one time. So there was also another movie with Drew Barrymore in it. That was in the 80s. This came on streaming. I think it was I believe it was a simultaneous release where it was streaming and it was in movie theaters, because this was also on Peacock as well. And this
Peacock was the studio. Yeah, Peacock was the studio that was doing the day and date releases for a lot of their films.
Yeah, because they did the same thing with Halloween Ends as well. So here you have Zac Efron. This was just an incredibly flat movie all across the board. I mean, there was some interesting stuff they did. I mean, obviously this movie now being in 2022, it can do a lot of things that the older movie couldn't do special effects wise. But it still is an incredibly just kind of flat movie all around. I did like Zac Efron's performance as the dad. I thought he did pretty decent. I think it showed that he can step out and do a little bit more dramatic stuff when kind of given the opportunity to do so. So I want to see that. He's going to be in a movie upcoming, which is about he's going to be playing a wrestler, and it's about I think the Von Erich family, which is like a wrestling dynasty family, and I'm excited to see because I heard about that story when I was watching The Dark Side of the Ring. It's a very tragic story what happened to this family if you know what happened to him. So I'm looking forward to that. Maybe that could be like his wrestler. Maybe I don't know. We'll see. But so here, yeah. So it's a movie that the little girl, she's fine, she's okay. But it's just a movie that follows a lot of these kind of traditional beats, and the villains are so typecast, and everything is so kind of generic in that sense. And there was just nothing exciting about this movie at all. Really completely forgettable in every sense of the word. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that for me.
Yeah, the only reason that Firestarter is not on my list is because I've tried on 3 separate occasions to watch it, and every single time it's just like 20 minutes in,
Yeah.
I just fell asleep every single time. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's just very very boring movie. I wouldn't even recommend to stream it. If you did see it, it's just like I don't think it's even worth a movie to stream. Like Halloween Ends. I think that's worth a stream if you probably sit at home something like.
Halloween Ends. It's not a good movie, but it is a fascinating one.
Yeah.
And how did this get made, and how did it turn out the way it did? I can't say the same thing about Firestarter.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is next for you?
Okay, my next on my worst of list is the bane of my existence in the comic book genre. You know what, Josh? Have you checked the time lately? Do you know what time it is?
It's Morbid time, baby. Yeah.
It's Morbid time, baby. Yeah, my number 4 worst of the year is the Jared Leto attempted vehicle Morbius. This is just every single thing that is wrong with comic book movies. Every single thing that filmmakers like Scorsese, like all those guys say that about how, superhero movies aren't cinema. If the only frame of reference I had was Morbius, I'd agree. Because it's just flat, it's dull. Jared Leto is sleepwalking through this in a role where he apparently was walking on actual crutches and just causing all kinds of delays every time he needed to take a shit, for a movie that ended up being awful, that got released twice because of memes. The one thing I can say positive about the movie is Matt Smith is having the time of his life, and it's not higher on my list because I have so much respect for Smith as an actor, and that he was so incredible in House of the Dragon, which also came out later this year.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the only reason to kind of see. I think Matt Smith tries to do something, with the movie as best he can.
Hey, it gave us the birth of a new meme, and that's him shirtless in the bathroom dancing to have sex.
Yeah, I mean, he's the only. If you are going to watch it, he's the only thing worthwhile to watch about it. I do think Morbius is one of the worst comic book movies of the year. For me, it's this year's Venom. So at least Black Adam. I mean, if Morbius hadn't came out, probably Black Adam might have been the worst comic book movie of the year. But luckily, Morbius came out this. So
there's a thing, and I'm glad you brought up that point. With Black Adam, it's less about like a failing of that movie, but everything in that movie, except for the main kid actor, is at least done competently. I can say that for Black Adam, and I can't say that for Morbius. At least with Black Adam, the effects look good. The performances, at least except for that one kid actor, I can tell everybody is trying at the very least.
Yeah, and I think Black Adam, the biggest fault with that is just it's the best superhero movie of 2007. I think that's just the thing about it. So you had Morbius in number 4.
Yeah, Black Adam is hilarious because the hierarchy of the DC universe did actually change this year.
Yeah,
not for the Rock's
favor. Yeah, just the Rock is not going to be a part of it in any way. Looks like it.
Wait, It was like it's like like 17 years ago, whenever that movie started getting in development, he made a wish on a monkey's paw, and it finally came true. And now the comeuppance.
All right, so I'm gonna go into another honorable mention for me. It is gonna be Babylon. Babylon is the recent movie with Damon Chazelle, starring Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt and Diego Calva. Star-studded cast. Director who broke into the scene. People really started to pay attention to him when he did Whiplash. Then he went on to do La La Land. Both movies nominated for Best Picture. And I didn't see La La Land, but I have seen Whiplash. Loved Whiplash a lot. Thought that was a really amazing movie. This movie, utter disappointment for me. I mean, you look at the talent that's in front of the camera, that's, behind the camera, and this was it's incredibly repetitive. You'll see one scene of them shooting like a movie, because this is all about taking place about, it's a movie that's about movie making, and specifically about Hollywood in the 1920s and the transition from the silent era of film to the talkies. And it's just all about them shooting a film. Then they do these crazy debauchery parties and everything like that. And then it's just repetitive from that point on. It's the same thing. Them shooting a movie, then shoot them at a party. Them shooting a movie, then they're at a party. It's the same thing over and over again. And then it gets just kind of escalates up and up from there. And it's just like, okay, I think one party scene or two party scenes would have been enough, but then it keeps just kind of going. And maybe if you just focused in on maybe one or two characters instead of trying to do, because they try to do like four main characters, like Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, the Diego Calva character, and there's this black jazz player that they do named Sydney. Jovan Edipo is, I believe, is the actor's name. And so they try to do that, and it just doesn't work at all. The jazz player gets the biggest short end of the stick here, of course, because any Damien Chazelle movie, you got to have jazz. And you gotta have jazz in there some way. So, I mean, you have a scene where like an elephant shits on somebody. Like that's the start of the movie. Like you see the elephant's asshole and you see the shit come out of it, and it just keeps going and going. It's like almost like even you wouldn't even see this in a Jackass movie. Like even a Jackass movie would know when to cut away. I feel like, and there's a scene.
I'm pretty sure we have seen that. Pretty sure we have seen that in a Jackass movie.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like that was so excessive. There's a scene where Margot Robbie's like projectile vomiting on a person on like the floor, like it's like The Exorcist or something. It's like, what the hell is this? You see somebody gets peed on. Like what? I was like, like this is just like totally just everything is off with this movie. So yeah, I just was like, I did not really enjoy it all that much. I gave it a skip it. We just reviewed it just yesterday. So yeah, I mean, it was not a fan of this movie whatsoever. I mean, the people in my theater, they were laughing. I mean, they were somewhat enjoying some of the comedy moments and beats in it. So maybe it is for you. I just think this movie is, like I said in the review, it's an assault on the senses in every sense of the word. I just did not really like it. So that's one of my honorable mentions there.
And that's really disappointing to hear, because I was just off the strength of Whiplash alone. I really am kind of ride or die for Damien Chazelle. But it's kind of, shady to hear that his last movie, First Man, which I wasn't really crazy about, and then this also being a disappointment. It's a bummer.
Yeah. All right, what's number 3 for you?
Okay, my number 3 on my worst of. Speaking of 3-hour assaults on the senses, it is the Ana de Armas starring Blonde, the fictional accounting of Marilyn Monroe and all of her entire life and her career in Hollywood, and all of the abuses that she probably didn't and may also have suffered throughout her entire life. This movie is just a 3 hours of taking a figure like Marilyn Monroe and just doing everything you can to spit on her This is I Spit on Your Grave starring Marilyn Monroe. It is just awful. It is, but where at least the assaulters in that film at least get some comeuppance. This is just 3 hours of the first act of that movie. There's no other way I can describe it except for you get these very odd vignettes of who's the director behind this? I'm struggling to remember the name for it.
Uh, I'll pull it up. You can keep
It's the
going.
same. Yeah, it's the same director of Jesse James and the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, and where that movie
Andrew
was
Dominic.
also doing. Oh, Andrew Dominic. Yeah, excuse me. Where that movie was also trying to peel back the layers on this kind of larger than life figure that was Jesse James, and in this case, Marilyn Monroe. That one was doing it with a lot of subtlety. There wasn't like these very odd and just distracting stylistic flourishes throughout the entire film. Like throughout this film, it changes aspect ratios. It goes from color to black and white. Film grain just starts getting really weird. Faces start getting warped for no apparent reason. If you have a justification for a stylistic flourish, then I can see why you do it. Because one of my best of the years also does a lot of that, but they weave that into its story. But with here, it just felt gross and exploitative. It's just one of the absolute worst movies of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of felt the same way. Like we're about to have the category of like best 3 hour movie this year. If we did for worst 3 hour movie of the year, this would probably be it. No doubt about it. Real waste of time. It trying to be in black and white and look all kind of artistic and everything like that. I think fails miserably. It just seemed like a movie that was just an entire excuse to go like, well, we can do like this NC-17 rating and then have Ana de Armas naked in some scenes, and that seemed like to be the driving force behind it, honestly. And absolutely, I think it's a movie that's kind of disrespectful to the memory of Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, it reduces Marilyn Monroe to just nothing but this poor helpless victim who calls every single man in her life daddy.
Yeah, yeah. So it was, yeah. It's just really weird, and there's some really strange moments, like the moment when she's talking to like her unborn fetus and everything like that. It's like, what the hell is like?
Right. There's like 3 segments of that. I forgot.
Yeah, like what the fuck is? And then you actually see like they do like they actually get some visual effects people to do actually create like, you know what I mean? You see it too. It's like this fetus inside of her.
They animate the segment, and it's like this like unborn fetus is asking, "Are you gonna kill me like you killed the last one?" I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, this is so many strange moments in this movie. Yeah, so yeah, I totally agree with you there. And that's your third one, right?
That is my number 3 worst of.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna get into my list for worst of here. So we're at the official list. So number 12. I have 12. So number 12 for me, I'm gonna do Emancipation, which is the Will Smith movie, his first movie post slap. I reviewed this with Chill. As I said in my review with Chill, I mean, it just feels like it is every other kind of slave movie that you'll see. And also, this is directed by Antoine Fuqua. It just feels like it's just purely a showcase just for Will Smith, just to see him, really perform. And I think it feels a ton like Oscar bait, really. And the look of the film too.
The film,
oh yeah, good.
Yeah, Emancipation. It is a skip it movie, but this movie is nothing more than a shameless attempt at trying to get Will Smith another Oscar nomination, so he gets back invited back to the party after the slap.
Yeah. That's kind of what it feels like, and there's so many just like superhero action moments in this that just don't work at all. Like him fighting this crocodile, and it just feels like so out of place. And Antoine Fuqua, who's known for doing some action stuff. I mean, he did the Equalizer movies, with Denzel Washington. Speaking of Chill, hey, Chill's in the chat right now. Hey, how's it going there, man? Good to see you. And yeah, like it just like every other character is done a real disservice, really. I think throughout this whole movie, like his family, like because the whole movie's like him trying to get back to his family. I think there's nothing really there. To see all this different brutality and everything like that throughout the entire movie, it's like I don't know. Maybe I'm just overseeing this type of stuff in movies, really, or just the way. I mean, maybe it's just because how poorly it was done here. But yeah, I was really not a fan of this movie at all. So that would be my number 12 for the worst of 2022 is Emancipation. There. What is your number 2?
Okay, my number 2 is gonna be one of the few times where I got to see a day and date of release because when I saw it, I was living in Japan at the time, so I was glad that I got to just get this movie out of the way right away. And I walked to the theater, and the entire walk back home, I was just fuming, seething with rage at Colin Trevorrow and the sheer audacity he had to somehow make a 2.5 hour movie about dinosaurs boring. And my number 2 worst of is Jurassic World Dominion. The one where, hey, let's do like the Avengers Endgame, let's do the shameless, like, tying in, bringing back the entire original cast and giving them much more to do. And it feels hollow. It feels like it was made by committee to just get to dinosaurs. And by the way, dinosaurs are barely a part of this movie. The entire like A plot is around like locusts and some dumb stuff. And in returning characters, you also have Chris Pratt's like Jedi mind trick superpowered Owen, who all he's got to do is just show his hand, and suddenly dinosaurs don't want to eat him anymore. But all I can say is fun is you get a little bit of Jeff Goldblum like lampshading how stupid this movie is. Like, you made a deal with a raptor. Just sleepwalking through this movie like I'm guessing he should because he got paid.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I mean, I think that, this is a movie with a really great premise. Like what you could have done. With this, have dinosaurs out in the real world, how they would affect the ecosystem, what impact they would have. That's not addressed at all. I mean, they do a short like news segment at the very beginning, like what I mean, and shows like, okay, this is what the dinosaurs are doing, but they would have so much more of a drastic impact on the world than what we're seeing. Like they just act like the dinosaurs are just chilling.
I think they said like it's like the total death toll since like dinosaurs are back and out in the world is like 30, and I'm like, bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, just like the effect they would have on eating the animals, and then that source of food being for other animals, and how they would maybe go extinct. Like there's so much that you could do with this premise, and you just
domino effect that they would have. Yeah, the domino effect they would have on like multiple different ecosystems on the planet is a really fascinating topic to the discussion, but the movie doesn't do that.
It focused on this locust plot, and then having like this fake ass Steve Jobs dude, and trying to bring back the original cast. And like I said, I remember saying in a review, it feels like this was like them trying to do like their, I guess, Avengers Endgame or something, like them trying to bring back the original cast. And because it feels like so many moments where like they stop and pause, like, okay, this is where the audience is gonna applaud because everybody remembers the OG cast members from the first Jurassic Park. I don't know, maybe it was different in other theaters. My theater didn't give a fuck, nobody clapped, so I don't know. But
my theater could give less of a shit. And I saw it on the base theater, surrounded by the dumbest mother.
So I don't know. Maybe it was different. So maybe you all can let us know in the comments, or something like that, like how that went. But yeah, nothing happened. There was no reaction in my theater at all. And yeah, so I just there was kind of some of those moments like that there. So yeah, I mean I can understand why there's your number 2 there. But I did like DeWanda Wise. I thought her whole thing like with the dinosaur trading and that stuff was, again, that's something cool in the movie, the whole dinosaur trading stuff, the black market, all that stuff. But yeah, they don't really do that enough anyway. So yeah,
that's like 10 minutes of a 2.5 hour movie, and that isn't the main focus. That is actually cool and actually interesting, but Colin Trevorrow is gonna Trevorrow.
Yeah. I mean, but it did make a
Gonna somehow fail upward into making another $1 billion movie.
yeah. All three of the Jurassic World movies have made $1 billion. All three of them. These are the Transformers movies of of the 2020s. You know what I mean? Basically, this is kind of what we get. But yeah, so they are successful. This one did make $1 billion. So there you go. All right. So, for me, my number 11 worst movie of the year, I'm going to go with Fantastic Beast and the Secrets of Dumbledore. With this movie, so I think they've been kind of with Warner Brothers. I mean, they don't really have really much going on right now in terms of successful franchises. I mean, their superhero stuff is kind of in flux right now. That's not really that doing that well for them. But something they were kind of hoping to guarantee is the Harry Potter universe, the Wizarding World, as they call it. And for me, these Fantastic Beasts, because this is the third movie, and I found most of them all kind of underwhelming. The first one, I think the first one's okay if it's just a standalone thing. But them trying to do like they said they want to do like 6 or 5 movies of this with these characters, and when they said that after the first movie, I was like, no, I'm like these characters cannot sustain carrying a franchise, absolutely not. And there was just a lot of things here that just, like I said, the characters, like, they just don't work. The characters really don't work. You're bringing back Jacob Kowalski, who there's no reason for him to be here. The only reason that he's here is because, well, he's the most popular guy you got.
His character had an out after the first movie, and the entire explanation for why he got brought back in the second and third one, it doesn't make any sense. Because that's like the continuity of how you fucking wrote the spells, J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, like continuity that gets all messed up. Stuff that worked before, like I said, the continuity's all off. You have, I do like Jude Law as Dumbledore. I will say I do like him as Dumbledore. I think he is a pretty good younger Dumbledore. Mads Mikkelsen, he's decent as what's his name? Dang, I'm blanking.
Grindelwald.
Grindelwald, yeah, he's decent as Grindelwald. But he's also the third actor now to play Grindelwald.
Mikkelsen is the third actor to play the character, and honestly, he might be the best one. At least he's the one I remember having the most actual screen presence as Grindelwald.
Yeah, I see that a little bit. I mean, it's kind of hard, but I mean, I never really was interested in Grindelwald as a character. To me, he's just another Voldemort. You have other kind of characters in this movie, like Jessica Williams, who, normally I like Jessica Williams. I just don't think, she's doing like some weird transatlantic accent or something like that. I don't know really that this just doesn't work.
I think they were going for the Daniel Craig and Knives Out, but it just didn't really click.
Yeah. So that was kind of weird to me. Yeah. I mean, these characters really just, if you just wanted to do a Dumbledore prequel series, you should have just done a Dumbledore prequel series and have him be the lead and everything like that. And how they kind of really wuss out on the whole love story between Dumbledore and Grindelwald is also kind of there. So, yeah. So I would put this, as my number 11 or stuff.
Yeah, the biggest problem with the Fantastic Beasts movies as a whole, at least with parts 2 and 3, is you're following a protagonist with Newt Scamander, who's played by Eddie Redmayne, who has literally nothing to do with anything that's going on. It's like if we told the fucking Harry Potter films from the perspective of just some shithead that happens to be in Gryffindor.
Yeah, and like them, like also they keep trying to title these movies because it also forces them to try to include these fantastic beasts. Like, so it's like they keep trying to force that. It's like, well, we have to work up some plot that has to have a bunch of animals in it because this series is called Fantastic Beasts, so we have to have Fantastic Beasts in it. So that kind of pigeonhole them and they try to do something. And then with this movie, they try to do something with
what was it in the one before this where they just literally turned the one Asian actor who actually gets a line of dialogue into a snake?
Yeah, that's with these. You say with these series of movies and the continuity, like all of a sudden Voldemort's snake was actually a person at one point.
This hot Korean woman.
Yeah, like why even like that didn't even make any. And like the fact that she was working at like a circus or something, like a wizarding circus. Why would this be like some big attraction? Like you people can do magic. What the fuck do you care if a woman could turn into a snake?
Y'all have actual fucking magic. Why is this entertaining to you?
Yeah, that just like stuff with this. So this series is just obviously a mistake. I don't know if they are going to do another one of these movies because this one didn't do that well in theaters. I don't know what the plan is for this, but yeah, I think they should honestly scrap it and go like, you know what, let's just kind of maybe focus on something else. I would want to see more movies in the wizarding world, but not this. I don't think you've really put forth a good effort with this and get a new directing talent. Like I think David Yates did these Fantastic Beasts movies.
Yeah, he's done all three Fantastic Beasts. He's been on the franchise since the fifth Harry Potter movie.
Yeah, I think you need a new director, new vision there, and you also don't need J.K. Rowling writing these movies. Don't need her writing these. Like, yeah,
This is the most. This is This is somehow the most competently written one of these, and it's still shit, and it's also the one she's the least involved in.
yeah. So I don't think you need her involvement there. I'll write in the series. So yeah, that is my number 11, Fantastic Beasts. What is your number 2?
Oh well, my number 2 was Jurassic World.
Oh.
But my number 1, the coup de grace of the worst of. I mentioned earlier that there was one movie where I nearly popped a blood vessel during the review of it, and that is my arch nemesis, Rob Zombie's The Munsters. It's just the entire production value of this thing. It reeks of like a porno, except they forgot to get all the paperwork done, so they couldn't shoot any of the sex, but the scheduling was all off, so they couldn't actually do any of that either. And it's just an hour and 47 minutes of a like 30-minute SNL sketch that just goes on way too long. Rob Zombie, I have a huge amount of respect for the dude because, you know, I fucks with White Zombie forever. I'm a fan of House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Reject. I have kind of come around to his version of Halloween, at least with the first one. But the man, just because you love something, just because you're a fan of a property, and he said in multiple interviews that he's a giant fan of the Munsters, that's why he wanted to take on this project. Just because you're a fan of something doesn't mean you can work in that realm. Because you needed a guy that was a very strong comedy writer. You needed somebody that understands comedic timing. You need a guy that understands when to cut after a joke. And also you need somebody who can write a joke.
Yeah, I mean, there was when the trailer came out, a lot of people thought, well, is this like a joke or something? Like, what are we doing? And the budget got. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, when I saw the trailer, I just remember, nah, he's fucking around, isn't he? Come on, this isn't for real, is it?
Yeah.
And then the fucking fateful day came, and I saw it on my Netflix scroll. And I was like, wait, you were serious?
Yeah. And because I don't know what the budget. I know the budget came out, and Rob Zombie said, "No, you stupid if you believe like we didn't pay millions of dollars for this." Because at first people were saying what the budget was like, what 10-20 million or something like that. And he's like, you know,
Where?
yeah. But it says I'm seeing that the budget was no more than $9 million. Even that's still way too much. I don't know where is that money's going.
That is $8.5 million shy. Too much.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like I said, when we review, I had the same issues.
It's like how does a movie like Terrifier 2, which is made for like $200,000, look 1,000 times better than this?
This was just a mistake all around. Like I said, if this was something on Funny or Die SNL, like you did like a 10-minute, like something like that, they'd been fine. They'd been like, oh, okay, all right, I guess. If you just wanted to mess around there, but to do this feature length movie, also this movie's 2+ hours. This movie's 2 hours plus, and
it's pushing to it is like an hour and 47 minutes. It just feels like it's 3 hours long.
Yeah, and for the premise of it, that's just like. That goes nowhere. Like this is a movie that goes nowhere.
It's the Munsters version. It's the Munsters version of How I Met Your Mother, which I guess is kind of fitting because it ends just as unsatisfyingly.
It just like it's just a movie like him meeting Lily Monster and then them finding a house. That's it. That's really that's just it's a movie that the premise is just that kind of
Those are
short
the
and that kind
only
of
two plot. Those are the only two plot beats that actually matter. And when it actually gets interesting, when they actually have to interact with real people, the movie just ends.
yeah. Because that's the
It's like
one.
there was some actual there was some potential for some real really funny stuff that you could do, and you cut the movie.
Yeah, because one of
What
the
the
few
fuck,
scenes that does
Rob
work
Zombie?
is when they're in the suburban neighborhood and then it's after Halloween and they see all the people just outside in the suburban neighborhood and like that scene's actually good. Like that scene's actually kind of works, but that's at the very tail end of the movie, and I'm just like, this is absolutely terrible. Like again, this was a streaming movie. If we did like one of the worst streaming movies, like I think it'd be between this and Pinocchio, the Disney Pinocchio for being one of the worst streaming movies, or Blonde, honestly too. But yeah, so that was your worst of list. You had the monsters number one. All right. So let me get through my worst of list so we can get into the best of here. So I'm gonna hurry up and go through this list real quick. So my next up, my number 10 is going to be Don't Worry, Darling. Don't Worry, Darling was the Olivia Wilde film starring Florence Pugh and Harry Styles and Chris Pine. This movie, I was looking forward to it. I liked Olivia Wilde's other directorial effort when she did Booksmart. I really liked that movie. I thought that movie was really good. Then when I heard she was kind of going to do like a sci-fi type film, I was like, okay, maybe this could work. The trailer seemed a little bit interesting, but even from the trailer, a lot of people could probably predict what the premise of the movie or what the twist of it was going to be about. Like you can probably easily guess it. And then leading up to the movie's release, all this stuff started to come out about it. Tension that was going on set, fights. You saw during even the press release. During the press run that they were doing, maybe Harry Styles spit on Chris Pine. I don't know. There was something going on there. Spitgate. I don't know. I don't know if the answer to that has even been found out yet. But it's just like I put this on the worst stuff because it's just incredibly disappointing. Because again, it's another situation like Babylon where you have great talent behind and in front of the camera, and it's just completely wasted. Chris Pine, that was supposed to be like this Jordan Peterson figure, you don't get that at all in the movie. And when we had Rose on, who was doing the review with us, telling us that certain things were changed and added, to the script as things were kind of going as the movie was shooting. Yeah.
This script went through more changes than actors for Spider-Man. And this script initially, one of the initial runs when Olivia Wilde signed on, I think it was, the character Jack, who was played by Harry Styles in a version before the rewrites, when she took over, Jack was much more of an overtly abusive and entitled character, which I think needed to be the case in order for a movie like this to work, because otherwise it feels like he's on Florence Pugh's side the entire film up until he's not, where there really isn't a real reason for it. And I think most of that can be attributed to Wilde's contribution because she was fucking Harry Styles through most of the production of this.
Yeah. And I don't know about the future of Harry Styles as a dramatic actor or an actor, period. I know he was in Dunkirk. And it was a small role there. He did okay. It seems like he's being really heavily thrusted into like the stardom and then lead roles, which maybe he's not ready for that yet. Because maybe normally you want to start a person off like doing some supporting stuff first, and then build up to more of a leading role. Like Justin Timberlake when he really first started coming out, like he just didn't get catapulted to being a lead star. Like it was more like he was in smaller supporting stuff like Alpha Dogs or. What was kind of another movie that he was in at the time?
Alpha Dogs, Black Snake Moan, The Social Network.
Yep, The Social Network, and he did really good in those supporting roles. And then he, kind of got more, lead roles there with stuff like Friends with Benefit with Mila Kunis and things like that. Maybe that could be a better route for maybe Harry Styles, but. yeah, it just like all around, I think this movie was just a waste pretty much, and a twist that you can see coming in a movie that kind of just ends abruptly, which is like, wait, that's it? Like a movie that you think is like this should be the way the movie
Eh,
ends should be like this should be the end of the second act going into the third act, not just end of the
this
movie, but
this feels like, yeah, it exactly. It's like this that exactly like when the twist happens, because it doesn't happen until there's like 20 minutes left of runtime in the movie. That should have been like the 20-minute reveal, and the rest of the runtime plays out the exact same way. But there's a little bit of dramatic irony because we know what the real situation with Florence Pugh is.
yeah. So I mean, which I guess if you haven't seen the movie yet, well, I guess I won't spoil it. I guess if you want to see it, go ahead. I guess I won't
I mean,
spoil.
it looks pretty. That's what I can say. Florence Pugh kills it. Like, that's just expected.
Yeah. Yeah, she's good. She's good as always. But yeah, this movie was just a waste. Waste of her talent. And waste of everybody's skill, I think, with this movie. All right. So that was my number 10. I'm going to be moving on to number 9. Number 9 for me is going to be The Invitation. The Invitation was the Nathalia Emmanuel movie that I saw. Again, this is kind of another movie that maybe if you see the trailer, you may be able to guess what's happening. It's a situation there
Hmm.
where this woman, she kind of wants to see more of her family, does one of those DNA tests, those 23andMe type things, ends up matching with somebody. Then the person that she meets with as her part of her extended family ends up kind of inviting her out because there's like, hey, this big wedding kind of happening. And this movie's not, when it comes to the big twist that happens, it's like, oh, that's it. That's what you did. Okay. I kind of waited all this time, for this. And it's kind of a movie filled with kind of weak ass thrills and chills and try to scares and everything like that they try to do. The whole kind of situation is set up of the movie. I was like, you could see something better in something like Ready or Not. You can see something better like that, where that kind of really reminded me of. I think it has a much better payoff throughout the entire movie.
Well,
Maybe some.
I think a benefit of like something like The Invitation versus a film like Ready or Not. The Invitation was PG-13, if I remember right.
I believe
Like,
so.
was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, versus Ready or Not, where that was an R-rated hard R with much more of a like darkly comedic tone, and The Invitation is kind of playing it straight with a PG-13 rating. So Ready or Not is a film that can take like bigger leaps with its violence, with its themes, versus The Invitation, which kind of falls flat. Or another movie that we saw earlier this year, which is a Pray for the Devil, like
Yeah.
a weak ass possession movie.
Yeah. Which I almost put it like my honorable mention. Pray for the Devil. I almost put that on there too. It's an honorable mention. But yeah, that could be a reason. Yeah, and it is PG-13. Nathalia Emmanuel. I mean, this is actually maybe the first time I've seen her lead role in a movie. I want better for her. I mean, I think she's got some. I mean, she's fine as hell. I do want better for her. See her in more movies and everything like that. And do some other movies outside of just Fast and Furious. I mean, I want to see her kind of some more stuff other than that.
It's like, Natalie Emmanuel, we love you. You are fine as hell, but fire your agent.
Yeah. So I do want to see her kind of some more stuff. Her best friend in the movie, kind of was like a little bit like they're trying to do. I think Lil Rel Howery from Get Out, a little bit like that. I think with her best friend there, that trying to do like really big comedic relief in the movie, and then the way the movie ends, it's funny the way it ends because it's like. I won't spoil it, but it's kind of funny the way that it ends, like what happens.
It, it's
Um,
like it's one of the funniest endings I've seen this year, but I know they did not intend for it to be a big laugh, which just makes it funnier.
yeah. So that just yeah. But yeah. So that was for me. My number 9 film was The Invitation. Number 8. I am gonna go with Deep Water. Deep Water was the movie that gave me blue balls. Here, just like Ben
Like Ben
Affleck.
Affleck.
Yeah, this was the only movie that while I was watching it, it was cucking me, because you have in the movie Ben Affleck, who's married to Ana de Armas, and it is the very one-sided relationship where I guess she can go off and hook up with all these younger dudes or other dudes, and he just has to just sit there and be sad about it, because just like, I was talking about Babylon, how extremely repetitive that movie is. This movie's extremely repetitive. Like, constant throughout the movie, you see scenes where Ana de Armas, she's hooking up with a guy. Ben Affleck walks in on them, looks sad, then walks out. And that happens like 3-4 times throughout the movie, where he's just walking into a situation, looks sad, walks away, and then ends up killing the dude that she was hooking up with. Like I said during the review, this is a white Tyler Perry movie. Like, you know what I mean? If Tyler Perry had directed this, and it had starred what's her name? Who was in I Can Do Bad All by Myself? Taraji P Henson and Idris Elba or somebody like that. If this had been the cast, then this would have been. I'm telling you, it would have been the same thing, because this is everything about this is a white Tyler Perry movie. It's stuff like he gets away with killing these dudes. It's like there's no fucking way he would get away with killing these dudes. It's like you either gotta be really shitty at your job or something, because it's like there is no fucking way, man. Like
these are also like the entire thing, because apparently the novella it was based on was written back in like the 1940s. It was set during that time period, but here they kind of shift it to modern day. But the whole point is these are like absurdly wealthy people, so I can kind of see how then, but you're not wrong.
yeah, I mean. It's comical, man. I mean, it's funny though. I mean, that's the thing. It's like it's trying so hard to be serious, and it's funny.
Dude, I agree. I agree with you. This is not a good movie, but if you ask me if I had a great time watching it, if I said I didn't have fun watching it, I would be lying, because I had so much fun with this, and just how absurd it was.
Yeah, it's crazy, because like there's a scene where like this one dude that just doesn't like him, that he has common sense. He's like, I know you killed these dudes.
That man is like the biggest hater of the year in a movie.
Yeah, he
for no reason.
I mean, because he knows, because he's like, bro, I know you killed these people, because there's a scene where he kills a dude. He kills the dude from Euphoria, Jacob from Euphoria. He kills him in the pool, and it's like, well, there was only 2 of you in the pool. Like, what the fuck happened? Like, obviously something happened here. Like, you tell me just this young dude just all of a sudden drowned in the pool? Like, what the fuck? Like, clearly something happened here. And there's a scene where he finds him hiding a body, the dude that's the hater. And then he sees him.
He's like driving full speed in his car, and he like is trying to like text for help, to text somebody to call for help, and he gets stopped by fucking autocorrect.
And you see Ben Affleck, he's chasing him with a bike. And through the woods, he's chasing him. Like, what in a car, he's chasing him with a bike. Like, come on, man. Fucking ridiculous. Like I said, this shit is a Tyler Perry movie, man. This shit is ridiculous. Some shit you see out of goddamn. This was in fucking, what was that Tyler Perry? This is some Temptation. You see this shit in Temptation. You see some shit like that. Like, that's what this shit is, man. Because this is ridiculous. All the shit that happens. I'm like, man, this is. But
again, I can't put this on my worst stuff because I had too much fun with it. But you're not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, this is just crazy. But I mean, I would say it would be good, like you said, like Nick said, it's good to laugh at. So if you want to put something on and have like a fun trashy night, this would probably be good to kind of put on for that. So that was my number 8. Let me go to my number 7 here. So my number 7 would be Moonfall. Moonfall was probably one of my contenders for one of the worst blockbusters this year. Here you had the movie with Patrick, what's his name? Patrick Wilson, right?
Yeah, Patrick Wilson.
You have Patrick Wilson. This is directed by disaster movie extraordinaire Roland Emmerich. And like I said, with this movie, it is a QAnon's kind of documentary. I mean, they probably look at this movie like it's a documentary, QAnon, flat Earth people, basically.
Yeah, just for me. Yeah, for me, this movie is a go fuck yourself for one reason and one reason only. Its entire like ethos is, you know what? Conspiracy theorists like Alex Jones, they're right. And just on principle, I have to give this movie a go fuck yourself.
And if you have even a basic knowledge of probably science or math or anything like that, this will just send your probably your world into an absolute tizzy, because of what it
I'm pretty
absolutely does.
sure. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure if Neil deGrasse Tyson watched this, his brain would just explode through pure rage.
Yeah, and Neil deGrasse Tyson is a total fucking buzzkill, but even this would be kind of warranted, with a movie like this, and saying that the moon is really like some huge space station with that we used to exist in, and like there was a civilization inside of it, and like what the fuck was because it's shit's crazy, man. I mean, what they kind of do with it. Halle Berry is in this movie as well. You also have John Bradley, who people know from Game of Thrones. Samuel Tarley, he's in this. Yeah. I mean, everything about it's like Roland Emmerich. I mean, he made Independence Day, and it's like he hasn't been able to recapture that magic since Independence Day of doing like this disaster movie. He
Was
hasn't been.
there?
I
Okay,
think
okay. With Roland Emmerich, was there any magic to begin with, or were people just hungry for another Star Wars?
I think you had something. I think you had something with Jeff Goldblum. You had something with Will Smith. You had something with that was Bill Pullman.
Yeah, Bill Pullman, who gives one of the greatest Fourth of July speeches ever.
Yeah, you had something there. You had that kind of level of talent and level of chemistry and level of kind of just pop there, that happened like in the 90s. Now this is like, doing some shit with the moon is falling, and then all this other kind of crazy shit is happening, and it's just all this bukkake of visual effects, and mixed in with like it being a car commercial because Michael Pena works at a car dealership, so you gotta pay for the movie, so he has to drive up in those, I think it was like Toyotas or some shit. And then also this movie has a lot of like, when you see the opening of this movie, you'll see a lot of Chinese distributors, so they got their name all over the movie. That's why there's this absurd amount of time dedicated to Halle Berry's Chinese babysitter, and then her trying to teach her son Chinese and all this other shit. Because I'm like, it feels like we're spending a lot of time with this babysitter for like something that would just be some side character. And I'm like, to find out, oh well, yeah, this movie's funded, what I mean, all this stuff by China, and then the woman who's the Chinese babysitter, she's like I think like a pop star over in China or something. But yeah, so all that stuff kind of going on with it. I wouldn't even say like it's a fun bad. Like it's just kind of just goes on for way too long. And if you want to see some fun bad, watch Deep Water. I think that's fun bad. If you want to see some fun bad, not something like this. So yeah. What were kind of some of your thoughts there on Deep Water?
Oh, on Moonfall.
I mean, yeah, Moonfall. I'm sorry.
I was just for Moonfall, I was just bored throughout this entire movie, mostly because I think everybody in this cast is capable of so much better. Like Patrick Wilson is probably one of my most underrated actors of all time, and stuff like even a film where he is basically just chewing up scenery, like the 2013 A Team. That movie should not work, and it should not be as much fun as it is, but I think it's largely because he is just having so much fun as being the scenery chewing bad guy. And then you get him in stuff like The Conjuring, stuff like Insidious, and of course one of his like greatest acting roles, which was Hard Candy. And here he is just textbook definition of slumming it.
Yeah. Yeah, Patrick Wilson. I mean, I like his career. I like him as an actor. It's like he's kind of in that transition where it's like he's got the looks to be a leading man, but I don't think he's ever had like that huge pop and success when it comes to that, like being a leading man and stuff. Yeah, I remember I saw something funny when somebody tweeted out. Somebody was like, he's like one of the most famous people you forget's famous. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, that guy. So yeah, yeah. So that was my number 7 one was Moonfall. So number 6 would be Pinocchio, Disney's Pinocchio. Yeah, for a lot of the reasons Nick said as well. This movie, humor doesn't work. Them retelling the story doesn't work. Tom Hanks' weird performance that I obviously also just doesn't work. Did like Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Jiminy Cricket. The weird changes they kind of make to the story that don't really, I think, that take away from the story, like the stuff they do with him going to Pleasure Island, and like, like the lessons he's supposed to learn from that. I think they do a weird change to that again, like, that takes away the important, valuable lessons there. I did like the stuff when he was captured by Honest John, and then he met that woman, who's the puppeteer, and how she talked to him through the puppet. Like, we did like that. I did enjoy that. But yeah, overall, this movie is like the definition of a movie that's just like, yeah, this just didn't need to be made, especially if this is what you were gonna do with it. Yeah, this was a waste of time.
Yeah, when I say cash, you say grab, cash, grab.
Yeah, this was just absolutely a waste of time, and I could see why they definitely dumped this on the streaming service there, on Disney Plus. I'm glad they did, because I think if it did had come in theaters, it would have did really extremely poorly. So yeah, Pinocchio is there. Is my number 6. Number 5 for me. Is going to be Jurassic World Dominion. Jurassic World Dominion, among the list of terrible blockbusters this year, like Moonfall. Yeah, this is up there with it. I talked about it when Nick put it on his worst of. It's just like, these are the Transformers movies of the 2020s. Seeing it, and all of them have grossed $1 billion, so they have been very successful. This movie wastes a very good concept. It makes dinosaurs not cool. Like, how the hell are you gonna make dinosaurs just not cool? Like, what the hell? Like, that's almost impossible.
Yeah, yeah, dude, that is literally my like half a rating on Box in my review. It's like, how the fuck did you make dinosaurs boring?
Yeah, and like, Chris Pratt doing the whole thing where he holds his hand up, and tries to, like, he could basically stop any dinosaur with basically that. I'm like, get the hell out of here with that. Yeah. And then bringing back the original cast members, like, it was cool seeing, the original cast members come back. And it also helps that they haven't, like we talked about in the review, they've aged gracefully. They all have, like, Jeff Goldblum and everybody, like, they all have really aged really, really well.
Yeah, they've aged really well. Sam Neill looks exactly like he did back in
So that, I think,
like wine, and so has Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, so I think that's helped a lot. And their presence, and it did add for some good kind of comedic moments there between them and the kind of the newer people, like Laura Dern, with Laura Dern and everything like that coming back, and Jeff Goldblum, Sam Neill. And one thing about this movie is there's not really any big stakes or any real danger, because none of these people are gonna be hurt. None of these people are gonna die. You're not gonna kill any of the original cast members. You're not gonna kill Bryce Dallas Howard. You're not gonna kill Chris Pratt. You're not gonna kill the kid. So when the dinosaurs,
you're not gonna kill dumb clone kid.
yeah. So it's just kind of just like, this is pointless. This is honestly pointless for a lot of stuff you're doing. So I was just kind of like, yeah. So that was my number 5. Let's see here. My number 4 worst of movie. Did I miss a number? Did I count to, like?
I feel like you skipped a couple numbers.
Did I skip so I had, let's see. So let's go back. Hold on, real quick. I feel like I skipped some numbers here. I skipped some things. So, for me, I had Fantastic Beast. I did that one. I did Emancipation. I did Don't Worry, Darling. I did The Monsters. I did Invitation. I did Pinocchio. I did Deepwater. I did Moonfall. I did Jurassic World Dominion. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 3 more. So yeah. So,
all right.
So I have 3 more. So this would be, coming up is my 3rd movie. All right. So my 3rd movie is going to be Morbius. Morbius, worst superhero movie of the year. Terrible vehicle for Jared Leto. Terrible special effects. Terrible side characters. Humor doesn't work. They tried to make people go see this movie with trying to throw in, like, thinking it's going to have connections to Spider-Man, and and they do that lazy ass post-credit sequence with Michael Keaton.
Yeah, which I guess we can actually sue them for it now.
Yeah, that's true. This is the new policy now. Since they advertised Spider-Man was going to be maybe a part of it. You can actually sue them for that now. So this movie just is a flop in every sense of the word, performance wise. Not only just in the box office, but just in what you're seeing on the screen, with the actors, with the writing, with the action. The only saving grace a little bit is Matt Smith, who's in this movie, who tries to deliver some personality, some kind of inject some life into it, to some degree. But this is like a superhero movie you would see like maybe late 90s, early 2000s, if that. It's nothing exciting about it. I don't think they are going to follow up with this at all. I think Sony was trying to do the same thing they did with Venom, but I think the difference is Venom had already a big fan base from the comics. So you were able to kind of cross that over a little bit.
Venom was a wildly popular character all the way back when he was initially created. He's been in every single animated version of Spider-Man. He's featured in most of the video games. He's been a prominent character in Spider-Man 3. And then when they announced Morbius, I'm pretty sure most of the general audience was like, who?
Yeah. Like, why would you do this character? But they were like, hey, well, Venom was a huge success. It did make the first Venom made $1 billion, correct? I think it made $1 billion or close to $1 billion.
Yeah, it did. It's one of the highest grossing movies of the year it came out.
Yeah. And they are doing a Craven the Hunter movie. And so with Aaron Taylor Johnson, let's see how that works out with that.
They're doing a Craven the Hunter movie with Aaron Taylor, and they're doing a Madam Web, which I guess is they're hoping it survives purely on thirst.
Yeah, because it's got the woman from Euphoria in there, Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah, it's got Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, Isabel Merced.
Yeah, who's Elizabeth Merced? Who's that?
Isabel Merced. She was in Instant Family as like the older teenage daughter in that one.
Ah, okay. Yeah, so they got that kind of going.
And she was Dora the Explorer.
Oh, okay. She was the Dora Explorer. Okay, all right. Yeah. So, like I said, this movie is a failure in every sense of the word. There. All right. So, we're good. My number 2 movie is going to be Blonde. Blonde. Is the Ana de Armas movie. Ana de Armas is showing up a lot on this list. This is her second appearance here, where she is playing Marilyn Monroe. Yeah, this
not a great year.
Yeah, actually, oh no, I'm sorry. I said second time. This is her third time showing on the list because I also had Deepwater on here as well. Deepwater.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so this is her third time on the list. So this was not a good year. Me and Ana de Armas did not have a good year this year, for me. So yeah, here she's playing Marilyn Monroe. Like I said, this movie is it's a joke, extremely exploitative of Marilyn Monroe's image. It's kind of everything you don't want in kind of a biopic or telling a story about someone's life. It's only focused on her sex life. None of the really great things that she achieved as an actress, as being this icon, this legend. And it's just incredibly disappointing in that sense of what they did, and incredibly disappointing because Ana de Armas, I think she's got an amazing ability to be a really talented actor, but in this, it's just like every scene, like almost like this movie is almost, it's like what, 3 hours or about a little bit over 3 hours, and every scene is her crying.
Yeah, she's either naked, crying, getting abused either emotionally, physically, or sexually, or calling the other male character in the scene with her daddy.
Yeah. So yeah, you see that kind of a lot there. Yeah. So that was just utterly kind of disappointing there. So yeah, I absolutely just did not like this movie whatsoever. Actually, I think I forgot a movie here. Actually, I forgot to put The Monsters. The Monsters was because Morbius was I think I had that number 3, so I forgot to put Monsters in here because that was also my worst stuff. So yeah, The Monsters is also on my list too. With The Monsters, like we said, this was an SNL skit. This was like something you put on Funny or Die, that you would kind of put on there, and a movie that comes close to 2 hours, that is just absolutely aimless. None of the jokes landed for me. Some of the makeup looked good, I guess, with some of the stuff they do with Herman and Lily and Uncle the uncle character there, the grandpa character. I mean, that looks kind of good. Some of them do decent performances. I think you know what I mean as the characters. I'm not a big Monsters fan, so maybe people disagree with me there.
I
But
mean, Jeff Daniel Jeff Daniel Phillips, who plays Herman Munster in this, he is passable, and that is the biggest compliment I can give to the performances on it. Because Rob Zombie has kind of like shoved his wife Sherry Moon into every single one of his movies, and she is not an actor.
no, she's not. You know, it's not a good husband and wife director actor relationship like James Gunn and his wife. It's not like that, or Mike Flanagan and his wife.
It's
Like,
not Mike Flanagan and Kate Siegel.
yeah,
It's not Ethan Cohen and Frances McDormand. It's not that.
no, it's not that at all. So I was kind of like, yeah, it's not that good of a relationship. So yeah, overdone, too long, funny or die skit. And my number one here I got is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Texas Chainsaw Massacre was maybe one of the when I first saw it, I was like, yeah, this is gonna be on my worst stuff, without a doubt. It's a movie that like, how the hell you gonna make me root for racists in Texas? Like, how the hell are you gonna make me do that with this movie? And this movie does that. It accomplishes that goal. You know, where you have these annoying ass, gentrifiers that are coming here trying to buy some property, and you know, trying to kill them. And I guess that's what the creator of the movie was going for.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In interviews, the creator said that's exactly what they were going for. And on that level, I can kind of give some respect to this version of Texas Chainsaw, but it's not fun to watch, except with the Elsie Fisher character, who I think is the best part of this movie, and her dynamic with the contractor that they eventually meet. I think that is the part of the movie that works really well. It's just a shame it's wrapped around the rest of this.
Yeah. And you know, if you just want to see, like I said, this movie's best if you just want to watch like Dead Meat or something like that. Like, if you just want to see like a compilation of the kills, that's all this movie's good for. Just to see the compilation of the kills, just to see like maybe the bus scene, where he's going through the chainsaw and everything like that, like chopping up the people, or when he's like killing like Leatherface is killing certain people. That's really all it's good for. Is that? It's just to watch just some of the kills, because you're not gonna get a good story.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
just yeah, but
character.
just have yeah, but just having that, it kind of misses the point of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the character of Leatherface, because Leatherface works best when he's basically like the Hulk for the family on the farm. It's Paramount's just point him in the direction and just let him go. And here he's taken it upon himself to do this, where you kind of miss something. It's just Michael Myers with a different mask.
Yeah. And if you just want to make a fun splatter type movie, I could see that. But like I said, Texas Chainsaw, the first one, I mean, it is one of my greatest horror movies of all time. Just what they do, you know, it's like this woman who's trapped on this farm trying to get out. Like, it has that, you know, feel to it that makes it just feel so kind of like it's so isolated and just so scary, and you feel.
Oh, you mean this family exercising their right to defend their property?
Yeah, you know, that kind of feeling. And so yeah, I mean, you're not going to be able to recreate that. You know what I mean? You're not going to be as classic as the 1970s
Yeah,
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
yeah, the 78 Toby Hooper, that was the right people at the right time making the right kind of film with the right circumstances. It is lightning in a bottle. You're never going to be able to recreate that, no matter how hard you try.
Yeah. So, yeah. So absolutely, and yeah, and them trying to bring back, you know, like a legend. Like, this was, you know, also trying to do with Halloween, like with like some movies are trying to do, like bring back
Oh, the
original.
shame. Oh, you mean the shameless Halloween 2018 ripoff?
Yeah, they try to do that here with a character who the original actress, she already had passed away already, so they bring in like a new actor to play her. Yeah, they try to do the Halloween 2018 thing there that doesn't work there at all. And the ending is also it had probably, I will give it this, that's probably one of the funniest endings I've seen this year. Like what they do with that ending, I was like
Oh,
that shit is fun.
that that ending that ending made me laugh so hard. Oh my god, this is, you know what? The last an hour and 15 minutes was worth it just for this.
Yeah, because that ended is ridiculous. Yeah. So that is my worst of 2022. So the recaps are the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Blonde, Morbius, Jurassic World Dominion, Moonfall, Deep Water, Pinocchio, The Invitation, The Monsters, Don't Worry Darling, Emancipation, Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore. And my honorable mentions were Babylon and Firestarter. There we go. So yeah,